Hi, my name is Robert, and I want to first of all thank you for taking the time to take a peek at this video. What I'm going to be doing is discussing and talking about a deadly medical condition called Wernicke's encephalopathy. It was a medical disease condition, however you want to put it, something that I've never heard of. It hit my wife like jumping off of a cliff or a bolt of lightning out of nowhere, from my opinion, and it landed us in the hospital for 5 days. On a Tuesday, I got home with supper and talked to my wife a little bit, just a little bit, ate supper, and she was quiet. She just wasn't talking very much, like she normally does as someone that's been home all day by herself. And after about an hour and a half of being home, I actually nodded off. It must have been about 7:30 when I fell asleep. I woke up around 11:30, 12 o'clock, kind of wondering what happened. I found my wife in bed, kind of waiting for me to come to bed. So I went to bed, didn't think a whole lot about it. The next day, I got a phone call from my wife, and she apologized for missing church. So I told her, I said, we didn't miss church. We went to church Sunday, and I reminded her that I wouldn't let her miss church, and that concerned me a little bit. So I went home a little early Wednesday, earlier than normal. Actually, I didn't go home early Wednesday. I went home about the same time, 5:30, 6 o'clock, and she was a little quiet again. Didn't talk much, and so that concerned me a little. On Thursday, I went home early. I was very concerned with her lack of communication the previous 2 days, and so I engaged in conversation on Thursday, which she was very responsive to. So we stayed up to about 10:30, which was normal for us. It was just me and her home. My daughter's off to college. And I went to bed. She didn't seem as peppy as she normally does, and didn't have a lot of spark in her communication. So the next day, I went home early again. I got home around 3 o'clock. Just doing busy work while there, talking on the phone, business contacts and things. She seemed a little quiet. Sometime Friday, she asked me a question about a few trips that we took. My wife normally handles all the travel arrangements for our travel. We had a trip scheduled within 2 weeks, a trip scheduled in 2.5 months, and a trip scheduled in 3 months of vacation. And she asked me a couple of questions about the trips that I knew she should have known the answers to. So I asked her, it was probably Friday around 6 o'clock. I asked her, was she feeling okay, and could we go to the hospital? She declined, said that she was just feeling a little weak, a little drowsy, and that she would rest and she'd be okay. Well, I was a little bit shaken by the little bit of confusion with that trip incident. But, you know, I didn't force her to go to the doctor, and decided I'd stay close. Her symptoms kind of seemed like flu symptoms. Someone moving a little slow, a little drowsy, and just wasn't as energetic as she normally is. Well, my wife had been drinking alcohol, and I didn't know if, you know, that was taking its toll as far as making it hard for her while she had a cold. The one statement of confusion did concern me about the trips, and I didn't remember the phone call a couple days prior about her not going to church. So Saturday, I ran 1 or 2 errands. I was home most of the day, and I didn't notice her eating much. So I asked her, had she been eating? She said yes, and she got some things to eat. Didn't seem like much, but she was still, I would say, groggy and a little quiet, not too bad. But as we talked and communicate, her communication was pretty clear. On Sunday, she seemed to be moving slow, slower than normal, seemed to be dragging, and seemed a little feeble. I offered to take her to the hospital. She declined. I took her temperature. She did not have a temperature. She needed my help a little bit in getting dressed for church. We went to church together, and she seemed to hold on to me a little bit as we entered and exited the church. You know, kind of like an elderly person would, that's maybe in her upper 70s or 80s. You know, we went to church. I asked her to allow me to take her to the hospital. She told me that she already had an appointment to go to the doctor, which kind of excited me, but it was surprising. So I asked her when was the appointment, and she said she didn't have it with her. So when we got home, I tried to get her to show me her appointment. She normally writes everything down. She could not prove to me that she had an appointment. So I tried to get her to let me take her to the hospital. She wouldn't. Since it was Sunday afternoon, we had a meeting with some friends Sunday afternoon, a small church group. And then I told myself if she wasn't better in the morning, I would take her to the doctor first thing in the morning, which would have been Monday. Saturday, I asked her about eating. She ate a little. I went and we both went to the meeting with our friends, and she was feeble acting and getting in and out of the car and stuff there. She seemed to communicate okay, not as clear and as quick and sharp as she normally does, but she definitely had, you know, I would say near normal communication skills. We went home that night, and while at the meeting, a friend or two asked, was she okay? And I just said, I think so. We're going to go to the doctor in the morning if she's not better by morning. And so they could see that she was moving a little slow and a little feeble. I was up most of that night, Sunday night, and decided that if she wasn't peppy in the morning, we were going to the doctor. Monday morning, she was still moving slow, and because of her slow movement, I decided that I was going to get her dressed and get her to her doctor's office as soon as the doctor's office opened. So that was the pre-doctor visit scenario, the signs that I seen that a sickness was coming on or had arrived. And now we were on our way to the hospital or doctor's office to see what was going on with my wife.